A federal judge on Thursday sentenced the political activist and Democratic donor Ed Buck to 30 years in prison in the deaths of Jamal Moore and Timothy Dean. Even after the two men were found dead in his California apartment, Buck did not stop injecting other gay men with methamphetamine. He personally injected them with the drug in exchange for sex. Another man, Dane Brown, was repeatedly injected by Buck but survived. His account of what happened led to Buck's arrest in 2019. Buck appeared in a U.S. District Court in Los Angeles for providing fatal doses of drugs, operating a drug den, and enticing men to travel for prostitution. Prosecutors said he often targeted young, vulnerable black men. He was convicted on 9 felony counts last summer. Buck told the judge on Thursday that he had loved the men and said he wished he could have turned back time, and insisted that he was not responsible. The Democratic donor also gave money to the LGBTQ and animal rights community. The Los Angeles sheriff blamed the so-called woke city leaders for the unsafe conditions on the city's public transit. As a consequence, he said he will pull his department's contract to patrol parts of the public transit lines. NTD Cynthia Kai reports on what the sheriff is saying.
Los Angeles Sheriff Alex Villanueva said he sent a letter to the Metropolitan Transportation Authority Board, or MTA, asking to restore full public safety control to the department by July 1st. Otherwise, he would remove 325 of his deputies currently patrolling public safety and redeploy them elsewhere.
The board has been taking away all the discretionary authority of every peace officer on the train system. They're trying to transfer it to private security into this ambassador program because they do not want to enforce the rule of law. I don't know if they just caught up in this woke nonsense, so they thought that maybe it's all about feel good.
Villanueva said the sheriff's department had full control of patrolling the MTA lines in 2017 until that contract expired. The MTA then created a 3-agency patrol system. The current contract splits patrolling responsibilities between the Sheriff's Department, Long Beach Police Department, and Los Angeles Police Department.
It should be noted that our department has the Metrolink contract, and that is 538 miles of track. It covers 6 counties. You do not see this on the Metrolink. You only see it on the MTA system.
Villanueva says MTA's current contract limits law enforcement officers' ability to do their jobs.
They've told all of the operators or the law enforcement that if someone needs to be ejected from the train, it is better to actually escort the paying passengers, remove them from the train and get another train for them than to address the problematic person on the train itself. I mean, this is just bizarre. So the only people that have a right to stay on the train are the ones that are homeless, unruly, drunk, urinating, defecating. They're the ones that cannot be touched.
According to the Sheriff's Department, the growing homeless population has led to fatalities on MTA trains and in the stations.
The elevators in all the transit system become basically vertical mobile porta potties. That's what they are, because that's what the homeless population is using them for.
The sheriff's comments come 2 weeks after personally riding the metro lines to investigate their condition. According to the department's data, robberies and aggravated assaults on the MTA have been increasing since 2019. But during the summer 2020 riots over the death of George Floyd, MTA cut back on the use of law enforcement on the train lines to reduce the appearance of armed responses on everyday transit systems. NTD reached out to MTA for a comment. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Imports are going strong at the Port of Los Angeles. The director reported the 3rd busiest month ever at one of the United States' largest seaports. Let's take a look at what the ships are bringing in.
Cargo volumes at the Port of Los Angeles broke another record in March. Record-breaking numbers have come in every month so far in 2022.
We started off year 2022 with 3 consecutive record months and our best first quarter ever, eclipsing the previous record set just last year by 3.5%.
The total number of containers for the first 3 months of this year sits at 2.7 million containers.
Overall volume reached more than 958,000 20-foot equivalent units, just edging out the record we set last March. And this turns out to be the third best month overall in the port's history, behind only 1 million TEUs that we did last May and 980,000 TEUs in October of 2020.
Soroka said imports remain strong as retailers continue to replenish inventories and satisfy high demand from American consumers. Despite imports being up, year-on-year exports were down. The port processed just under 12,000 containers for Asia-bound exports, down 9% from last year.
Exports have now declined 37 of the last 41 months here in Los Angeles. With import activity strong and exports waning, empties are being processed at greater levels than ever back to Asia.
Soroka called for a national export policy and is working with U.S. agriculture groups and the manufacturing community to improve exports. Further, last December, the port started a program to penalize ocean carriers with a fee of $100 per empty container. The program has not yet started, but it's set to begin at the end of April. A similar fee can be enacted for empty containers idling at the port.
Both COOs, the chief operating officers, have told me directly they're more than happy to jump into the fray, assist their day-to-day colleagues, and see whatever we can do to move the needle. But as a last-ditch effort, if that fee is necessary to get people motivated, we may just have to use it.
But slowdowns at the dual Los Angeles-Long Beach ports are leading shippers to consider other delivery destinations. Alan Murphy, CEO of Sea Intelligence, says there is a 60% increase in the number of Asia-North America East Coast train lines in the coming months.
Governor Gavin Newsom declared $70 million for 6 new Homekey projects throughout California, though they will provide 232 units for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. Previous reports called the project's effectiveness into question.
The governor's office announced on Wednesday that the awards are for acquiring hotels and motels for the cities of Berkeley, Arcata, County of Santa Barbara, and Los Angeles, as well as the Yurok Indian Housing Authority. Newsom stated, "We've swiftly created safer places to live for thousands of unhoused individuals throughout the last 2 years, and today's awards continue that progress." But a February report from the state's Legislative Analyst Office criticized Project Homekey and its sister initiative, Project Roomkey. Occupancy averaged at 70% for the state. Areas hit most hard with homelessness, like Los Angeles, saw 65% occupancy. According to the governor's office, additional awards are to be announced in the coming weeks.
It seems there will never be a safe way to smoke. New research suggests that chronic e-cigarette use changes the inflammatory state of multiple internal organs. Here's a look at what the researchers found out.
Researchers at the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine found daily use of pod-based e-cigarettes alters inflammation in several internal organs. Their findings, published on Tuesday through Cambridge-based eLife Sciences, included the brain, heart, lungs, and colon. Chronic e-cigarette use can make these organs more susceptible to various forms of disease and infection. More surprisingly, the effects may vary depending on the e-cigarette flavors and can influence how organs respond to infections. Senior study author Dr. Laura Crotty-Alexander, associate professor of medicine at UCSD School of Medicine, said these pod-based e-cigarettes have only become popular in the last 5 or so years, so we don't know much about their long-term effects on health. The study was carried out on adult mice, simulating chronic use of 2 flavored aerosols from Juul e-cigarettes, mint and mango. Crotty-Alexander said the results were pretty terrifying, as many e-cigarette users are young adults, aged 18 to 24. Her team found the most striking effect in the brain. Inflammation occurred in the areas for motivation and reward processing, which could result in anxiety, depression, and addictive behaviors. Crotty-Alexander concluded that the flavor chemicals themselves are also causing pathological changes. She added that e-cigarette use could fundamentally change how a person's body responds to infection.
We have all heard of firefighters rescuing cats stuck in trees. But two different California firefighter teams carried out slightly different rescues for two baby animals. Let's take a look at what and how the firefighters rescued.
Fresno firefighters recently rescued a little gray kitten trapped inside the bathroom wall of a home. The Fresno Fire Department said in a Facebook post that the resident reported hearing meowing coming from inside the wall. Firefighters used an infrared thermal imaging camera to locate the kitten. They chopped into the wall with an axe and lifted the infant feline out unscathed. Firefighters said the kitten and its mother had apparently entered the home through the attic, and the kitten fell through to the bathroom wall. The kitten's mother has run away, but the resident said they would try to find the rescued kitty a forever home. Meanwhile, instead of rescuing an animal from a tree, another team did the exact opposite. Firefighters in Los Angeles jumped into action to rescue an owlet that fell from its nest atop a home in Woodland Hills. The nest appeared to be home to at least 3 owlets and its mother. A resident called LAFD on Monday to report an owlet had fallen. Firefighters located the owlet, picked it up, and while wearing personal protective equipment, climbed a ladder and placed it back in the nest. The mother owl returned to the nest, giving the LAFD photographer a rather indignant look, as she covered the nest protectively. But firefighters say they assume the last photo is the mother's thankfulness face.